Welcome back to Family Farms. So we finally conquered Mount Chip. We spent the morning, we worked real hard, and we finally gotten rid of pretty much all of the wood chips that we had piled up here. It was a massive battle and a lot of work. We're thankful for the chip drop that we received, but I don't think we expected it was going to be just as much work as it was. They aren't joking on the website when they tell you how hard it is. But I'm going to get to work. We're going to do this, box this last little bit up here, put it in the totes, that way we have a little bit extra on hand in storage, and then we'll show you guys what we used all these chips to do.
How do you feel?
I feel accomplished. That, as you can see from the pictures here, this was quite a big wood chip pile when we got it. And it feels like it's taken us weeks and weeks and weeks to get it done and to knock it out piece by piece. Today we really dedicated and we were able to do it, and I'm thankful that it's done. But I'm truly surprised with just how much area we were able to cover with this one chip drop. So let's take you guys on a little bit of a tour. Before we give you guys the tour, we do need to store these. I think what we're going to do is just put these last two totes underneath our porch. That way, in case we get any washed out in any small areas or something like that, we have a little bit to come back to. Or if at some point we need to put some more with the chickens, then we have a stock that we saved up. We didn't want to save a ton because with all the trees that we have, we know that everything's going to get covered in leaves in the fall and be a pain. And so we didn't really want to work on having like a big storage area for all of it. We were able to pretty much fill in the entirety of our entire backyard with these wood chips. I'm kind of surprised with how much space they truly covered. Even when we saw the pile, we didn't think that it would cover this much square footage, but we were able to cover all this in, which before was some weeds, very sparse, and a lot of rocks and erosion. No grass was growing back here. I imagine it was partly due to the shade, partly due to the oak trees dropping acorns and making the soil a little bit acidic because nobody ever wanted to clean them up before us, and really just bad management of the yard back here. But if we were going to try to grow grass, we were going to have to put massive amounts of dirt, like truckload of dirt back here, really watch it, really be careful on it. And so since we had the opportunity when this chip drop showed up and it was so large, we thought, let's just go ahead and try to wood chip the backyard and see what happens. We're hoping that big rains don't wash a whole lot out, but we've had some rain since we've had a lot of this back here. We've added some more today, but we've really not had too big of an issue with things getting washed out yet. So hopefully that remains to be the case. But as you can see, I mean, we really filled in an impressive amount of space with these wood chips, even to the point that it comes all the way up here where we've made somewhat of a decorative line in the yard. We were able to extend this area out with the rocks. It used to cut in over here, kind of cut in right about here and just ran to the porch. So we were able to add all of this and put it a good foot deep in some spots. All of wood chips helped us to level out the sandbox, so that way our son has a little bit easier time playing in it. But we were able to make it look, I think, pretty nice. But fill in all this space and all the backyard, and that was still not all of the wood chips. I'm truly amazed with how many there were in that pile. We do have a couple small beds up here since we're already on this side. So our area with our blackberries, where we hope to add another bush soon, as we've talked about in other videos, we're able to fill all that in, all that area with our rose beds, and our whole in-ground vegetable bed has been filled in with wood chips. And then we'll just go ahead and work our way around to the other beds. So we also wood chipped this bed, and we've actually wood chipped it twice now. So it's got a double layer of mulch up here. Filled all of this in, and also the bed at the very front of our property. all of this space. We actually had to remove the mulch that was here. We had a lot of black mulch that was here that had really gone back, and we had a plastic barrier from the previous people when they landscaped it. They put a plastic barrier down, which just made worms being able to get through everything and help break it down and to actually improve the quality of the soil nearly impossible. So we pulled all of as much of that as we could out and brought all this wood chips back in. One of the best things that we haven't mentioned yet is that these wood chips are cedar. We got really lucky with our ChipDrop that we were able to get cedar. Cedar's gonna last us a really long time, thankfully. It's also great at repelling certain insects. Termites don't like cedar, mosquitoes don't like cedar, and we've actually noticed the mosquitoes because last year around this time and all summer, the mosquitoes in our yard were honestly awful. They were all over us, but these cedar wood chips have come through and really been a game changer. We've not had hardly any mosquito bites. Where you were going from not being able to step outside for 30 minutes without getting ate up, now you can be out all day, and my son may get one or two, and I've hardly had any that I've even noticed. I think this bush, this is a juniper bush, is loving the wood chips. We didn't get anywhere near this amount of new growth last year, and now all of this has beautiful new green growth on it. We'd honestly thought about getting rid of these bushes, but I'm also not opposed to the idea of like just leaving them here and letting them take over a lot of this section, because birds and things would love to be able to get into that. And that's kind of what we want the most of, is to be able to invite wildlife in. And that seems like a pretty cool habitat if it's going to continue to grow out like it is right now. As you come along this way, the whole trend continues, mulch, mulch, mulch. This is almost done blooming now, but it loved the mulch, it's loved being over here. We had to move it because it wasn't doing well. And right after we moved it, it exploded in buds, started loving life, perking up, getting new growth, which has been nice. And then we just continue along with more and more wood chips until we get over here. And you can see I also filled in this section. Our hope with this section of the yard is to come back and fix what we made as like a drainage area last time for one of our gutters, is to put bricks down each side, fill it back up with rocks, and to hopefully prevent more erosion that's already very clearly taking place right there. And then eventually we would like to maybe plant this with clover. We're really big on clover. We think clover is probably one of the best ground covers that we could have. It may not be the case for you, but for us, we really like clover. We like what it does, and we like that it's good for bees and other pollinators. So can't really complain about that. And as you come along, you've got where we just were a second ago, storing those tubs next to our air conditioner, all of these nice wood chips. And then the final spot would be the chicken coop. Now the chicken coop didn't get as many wood chips as we'd originally planned. The hope originally was to put a good deal of wood chips in here, but what we discovered today and failed to film, sadly, we really kind of dropped the ball on that one because it turned into more of a thing than we realized it was going to be. But our rabbit and quail hutch here was buried a good 6 inches into the ground, if you can see where the dirt marks are on the legs there at the bottom. And so when we pulled it out, we realized how short our fence was getting. This used to be a 5-foot fence. I'm 6'6", so it's going to look short next to me no matter what. But this used to be a 5-foot fence, and from the inside now, I would say it's closer to like 4'8", somewhere around there. And so that's gotten shorter, and we don't want to make it easy for the chickens to get out, obviously. So we decided not to put too many more wood chips in here, but enough to keep the mosquitoes down, enough to keep the smells and things down, and kind of just even the rest of the landscape out. At some point, we're gonna have to make a video where we come in here and dig a lot of things out. But at the time being, you know, I think this is gonna be fine. It really brought our quail hutch back up to where it used to be. It's 6 foot tall, and it had been living closer to probably, you know, 5'10", somewhere around there. So having it back out, I guess that math doesn't really add up right. But it had been living a lot shorter than it was supposed to. So now having it this tall, it's kind of imposing, honestly. We had been setting buckets on it. Both me and my wife, who's 5'2", had been setting buckets on it when we were down here to feed, and now it's even gonna be kind of an annoyance for me to set buckets up there. But I think it's turned out pretty well. But I think it looks a lot better. And it'll make sure, we didn't want the posts to rot, so that's why we pulled it up anyways. Now we've got everything on blocks down here, so that way they don't sink down into the wood chips anymore, because I think that was part of the problem we had, is a small diameter like that has a really easy time of just kind of sinking over time into wood chips or into different, you know, composites. I don't know what to say about that. Beddings. So I think having those blocks there is going to make a really big difference on if things are going to sink down or not. I think it looks a lot better, and I'm glad that we were able to do it. Just today, I've done, let's see what my watch says currently. I've done 13,000 steps and just shy of 7 miles without ever leaving our house, but I don't think we're quite done yet. I still want to finish the bench projects that I started yesterday, and I'm sure Bree has projects of her own that she wants to finish as well. Oh wait, hey, how does it feel to finally have your parking spot back?
I'm so excited because that means on nice days I can bring the bench over and set it over here and just look at my garden. It's gonna be wonderful.
For all the time that we've had those wood chips, we've not been able to park back there, which has caused quite the bottleneck in our driveway that happens to go down right here. So this is gonna make life a lot better again. And then, like Bree said, she can look at flowers or whatever. We tried to treat Rory like a dog on a real farm, where she would know to stay out of the way of vehicles, but we're always still careful to be out here and make sure that she doesn't ever do anything. I'll give you guys a sneak peek of one of our projects real fast. And that is, we're gonna sow a little bit of clover right now, and then this is a massive bag, so we've got a lot to sow later. And I think Rory's gone to her favorite place. I've never met a dog that loves a car more than this one. She's always ready to go for a ride, but sadly, that day is not today.
My bench is gonna be perfect right here, and I can see all of my plants and all of my flowers, and I'm overjoyed. It's gonna be even better once these sunflowers are blooming.
Yeah, but we can't show too much of the garden stuff because then they'll know, and it's gonna run in a week whenever you have to do your garden tour.
Yes. We don't want to ruin them.
So what are we doing, boss?
We're gonna take a little bit of this clover and put it in my wildflower area, mostly in between the paving stones here, so that way it keeps a clear path for us. And then we're just gonna sprinkle a little bit throughout, so there'll be a little bit of clover going through all the wildflowers.
Using it like a ground cover, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm. All right, all done.
And that still leaves us a ton of clover to use for something else, doesn't it?
Yes. I think I have an idea what we're gonna do.
Oh?
This.
Ah. So that just means a lot more work, right? Finish
you.
one massive project and then start another one?
Yeah, that's how it goes, right?
Around here. Normally, we would do like you're supposed to do, put the seed down, and then try to put a little bit of dirt on top of it. But since we decided to go with the clover as the ground cover and to put it around the rocks and things a little late, we're not going to do that this time. This time I'm just going to try to water it in really good, hope that it works its way into the soil a little bit, and we'll see if we get it or not. I'm not going to be too upset about it. It was only a few handfuls worth of clover if it doesn't work this year, and then if it doesn't, then next year we'll come back and do it the right way. But I'm hoping that just a little bit of it will. We've used the same clover in the front yard before, and we've been able to throw it down on even packed soil, not soil as soft as this, and it's actually still germinated well and grown up. So I'm pretty sure that some of this is going to come. Of course, we may not have the best germination rate, but I think going for it's better than nothing. So for this section of yard though, I think we're gonna have to take a completely different method than what we just did with that clover seed. As you can see from just this small sampling, it's eroded to the point where it's a ton of rocks, trash from like where they had landscape fabric underneath the grass, question mark, and then old pieces of, and a Rory, and old pieces of wood chips that had been here, old mulch that had been here in the past and washed out into the yard. So I think what we're gonna have to do is rake all of this out and then clean up of it, as much of it as we can, and just bring in like a truck bed load of good compost. Probably this time mushroom compost instead of the compost we got from the, gosh, what are you doing, silly? She's so big, I can't take her weight. Instead of the compost that we got that we used in the raised beds, because we just really weren't happy with that, and I know that trying to do grass seed in that would not be the best. So we'll get all this and then we'll put seed down, and then we'll put a lot of good compost down on top of that, and hopefully it'll all spring up quickly. We've got another cool week coming up next week, and I think that's going to be perfect to just go ahead and get this done. We've debated a lot on whether to use compost or whether to use easy mulch. Not easy mulch, but like easy straw, and straw the whole thing. But I think putting the compost will help it get up until it can get some really strong roots to break through this soil. Otherwise, I think we'd have to like till the whole yard up, and that just doesn't sound like something we want to try to get into right now. I really don't want to get into raking all this up, but I want it to look nice and I want it to stop eroding. So we only have one option, and that's to plant ground cover.
I will pop in here to say that this is kind of our inspiration for doing the rest of this with the clover, because look how precious and just whimsical this looks. I mean, I couldn't be happier.
Though I don't think this year the rest of the yard will be able to look that good, because I had a leftover bag of clover and I kind of overseeded this area really heavy to get it to look like this. And as you can see, some of it kind of died out, and I don't know if it's because it was too overseeded, but other parts of it are doing really well. But I think for the rest of the yard, it'll be thick, but it won't be this thick this year. But of course, clover is a good spreader, so it'll eventually thicken up and maybe look that good. That's the hope, at least. Now it's time to go ahead and finish this project. Where we stopped last time is we still need a few boards. I still need these 3 locked down, this cut, and I'm thinking this might actually be long enough. I have to look. I'd like to put another support. Yeah, I might even use this piece of wood. I'd like to put another support here, and then of course here on the other side. It's just a little rocky still, and I think it's because these these sticks get a little bit small at the end. So we'll try to knock that out and then fill in the last few sections here of wood, and then hopefully we'll have a nice little bench that we can move around the gardens and leave here for a while, but I'm sure we'll find a better place for it, especially since, as I said in the last video, we'd like to have a picnic table here at some point.
Yeah, this will probably make its way into my garden as my little whimsical chair to sit on and enjoy my garden.
Things didn't go as we had planned. I hope to finish the bench today, but I don't think that's going to work out. Our son was actually spending the weekend with his grandparents. This was actually our anniversary weekend, and so they watched him for us so we could have a little bit of time together. And what do we choose to do? We choose to work on projects around the farm. If any of you guys have a farm, you know how it is. When you have time, then you just want to dedicate it to getting the things done that you want to get done, and that's more enjoyable and more fun than anything else, and so that's what we did. Of course, last night we did take things slow, but it still evolved into eventually, after sitting for a little while, we couldn't stand it anymore, and we did some work that we just didn't film. But I wasn't able to get the bench fully finished yet. As you can see, there's still a hole here. I was able to get some of the boards or some of the sticks screwed down, and I got everything trimmed up nice, but we still probably need 4 or 5, somewhere in that range, more sticks to actually finish it out, and then some longer ones to tighten up down there and make it to where it doesn't rock around. But I don't think that's going to happen today. I think we'd rather just spend some time as a family before we go to church tomorrow and spend basically the whole day dedicated to God. We'll dedicate a little bit of time to family this afternoon, eat some dinner, and just relax and not have to work on any more projects for the day. But eventually, I am going to get this bench finished, I promise, and that will show up in some form in a video, whether it's just showing the finished bench or showing the rest of the projects. I can't really speak to how that's going to work out, but eventually we'll get there. But we hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please subscribe and like. Check out our other videos. We have stuff that has much more to do with different animals. We do have a surprise coming with the bunnies eventually that we haven't talked about yet, so definitely be sure to stick around for that news. And we'd really appreciate it if you'd like this video. If you have anything to say, if you have any questions about the mulch or anything else that we talked about in this video, please let us know in the comments below. We appreciate you guys, and we pray you'll have a great rest of your day, and God bless.